there are people who are concerned that the boda registration exercise is apparently one that seeks to do the same. Some boda operators claim that they've been asked for money in registration, but we don't know much of that. Joining us for the discussion is Raymond Tamale, a reporter with NTV and one of the honchos in the newsroom. A very warm welcome, Raymond. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Fine, how are you?
Did you come on a boda?
Yeah.
Or you used your car today?
I used the boda.
Yeah.
Apparently I don't have a car at the moment. And,
apparently?
Yeah.
How many boda friends do you have?
They're called plugs. I have two.
Ah, plugs.
One here at Serena.
I understand.
And one from home. So,
home.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I survived the boda accident this morning when I was coming here.
When you're coming in?
Yeah.
Who delivers the hits?
Let us go to the topic.
Let's get into it. Okay, all right. So,
Right.
looking at the registration, help us understand. This registration has been postponed over and over again, from July to August, now to September. Could you help us understand the nitty-gritties as to why we're having a continuous extension of this exercise?
So, the order came out in January, early this year, to have bodas registered in Kampala, especially the CBD.
Yeah.
So the extension started in March. People didn't register. The ministers came out and said, you know what is going on. People are not taking up the exercise. They came back in April again. They give an order to register until recently, August. So KCCA, in between there, the Prime Minister comes and says, we're going to register all bodas operating, and the deadline for them is 1st September. As the Prime Minister is giving this order to register these bodas, the ministers of Kampala come and say, we are doing a census for bodas. For a common man who is riding this boda, he does not know which exercise is right, which exercise is wrong. So the Prime Minister, the fact that it was the Prime Minister's orders gave out to register bodas, and it was supposed to be done by Ministry of Works, UDISA, and then they're supposed to be trained.
What is UDISA?
UDISA is Uganda Driving Standards Agency.
Oh, okay.
That helps you get the permit and all that. So the riders went to Chira, registered, tested, what, and for a fact, if I'm corrected, by last week it was 10,000 people who were trained worth to operate on the road. That is whereby you can know the road signs and all that.
Yeah.
Now here you are, KCCA comes and says, let us do an exercise to get the bodas in Kampala. The nitty-gritties about this is that the form that they use for the exercise has a lot of details that the common man does not understand.
That's right.
A letter from the PISO, a letter from the LC1, a letter from the GISO, a letter from the LC1.
I thought all that should be sorted out by a national ID.
No.
So they don't ask for the national ID.
If you have seen that form that is being circulated by boda riders, is that you have to get a letter from the PISO, ISO, and GISO. And then you have to get a letter from the LC1. Now,
then that makes it sound like it's a security matter also.
From the onset, when the boda rider is going to the LC1 chairperson to get a letter, he has to pay something, that is 10K. But remember, the person who is paying 10K is driving this boda on a loan from any company, ISA to Gende. So he has to pay 10K, and let us get it from all the background noise. No one knows about the PISO or the GISO. Do you know about the PISO in your area? Do you know about the PISO in your area?
I know there is.
I only hear them when
PISO,
there's election time.
I do not know exactly what they do, or they haven't interfaced with me to assure me of exactly what their role is.
So you're telling this boda rider, get a letter from the PISO. Who is the PISO? So now it turns out to be more like...
For purposes of clarity, PISO is Parish Internal Security.
Yeah, but for a boda rider, does he know that?
All right. They should know.
Few. Very few. I did it for a fact.
Chris, the question was, do they know? Not they should know.
Do they know?
No, do they know? Those are two different things, please.
Yeah.
So anyway, anyway, so the extension is happening again, and they're pushing it until 2 weeks now. Ahead 2 weeks. They're claiming that the schools are going to be closing. They claim
Which
that,
were registration centers.
And then they also say that that the riders were overwhelmed and they really trickled down in the centers in numbers. By yesterday, they say they had 20K that have been registered. I tell you for a fact, even the extension will not work.
Okay. Your submission, Tamale, has left me more confused than, than informed. So, I beg the question, is this a national exercise?
It is.
Is this a Kampala Capital City Authority exercise? Whose exercise is it?
The plan is to have bodas in the CBD registered. But the bigger plan is to have all riders in the country,
within the country
registered.
Yeah.
But then you start with the CBD and you phase out. Now the registration for other riders in the country will be done by the local government, the Ministry of Local Government. You should take on the mantle to register bodas. But now there is no way you're going to convince someone in the local government in Masaka to register when it has failed in Kampala.
That's right. Kampala is unable to set the precedent for the rest of the areas in the country.
So if you don't set the pace, you cannot tell someone, you know what, you see how they did? No. Let me tell you one thing. The reason why there are no vendors in the city center is one, divide and rule. They gave out a rule and said, you know what, vendors get out of the street, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, they're
deployed the policemen.
So they deployed.
Yeah.
So the extension to get the riders registered in Kampala, they might not get the number they want because as of now we have 200k boda riders in Kampala, non-motorized and motorized boda riders. So if you want to get to the point whereby you have each rider registered and counted, that I promise you will be very hard. But what is going to happen is that if the extensions reach an extent whereby the Prime Minister is now tired of extending and what, he will say, you know what, those who are worthy of the road, stay. Those who are not worthy of the road, move out.
So there was also the question of they are asked to pay a certain amount of money. I know there's a time you were talking with Burora and the bodas around Rubaga were asking themselves the whole situation of they have to go back and study for a certain period of time to acquire a certain certificate and a permit, and they were asking themselves, is this permit as valid as the driving permit they have or they should be getting? Is it equivalent and things like that? And also the medical checkups, because this whole thing also started from bodas' mental capabilities. They needed to be checked mentally for mental health and things like that. So is all this being covered in this exercise, or it's just pen, paper, money?
So you have two exercises going on. The first exercise happened at Chira, next to Chira police station, whereby boda riders were going through the whole process: register, be tested, checked, given a permit. But it was not given to them. The permit's the last part of it by UDISA. And now you have exercise which is done by KCCA, which is more like a census. They're just counting. Now the issue that the boda fraternity has is this: after you've done counting me, what's next? Because you see, now the process that happened before gave liberty to someone whereby they are being tested, the roadworthiness, do they understand the road signs and all that. And then the funny thing is that you have someone who's going to come out and say, you know what, we're going to do an exercise, it's KCCA, blah, blah, blah. But then the rider does not know, after I'm done registering with KCCA and being counted, do I get a stage? Do I now, am I now fit to operate on the road? The first exercise that happened at Chira, each rider was required to pay 60,000. In this 60,000, they're supposed to be tested for the eyes, the head, and all that. Now, yeah.
How about the liver?
Wow.
No, the head, the eyes, and
the
all that.
kidneys,
Right,
for them,
yeah.
they are fine.
And then, the exercises that being, now, the riders that are registered earlier with UDISA, Ministry of Works and
Transport.
are asking themselves, why do I need again now to come and register again? Now,
Can't they synchronize the data?
Yeah. Now, if you look at the boda form, the census, it has that if you registered before, you just go to verify and rectify. If the name is, if say I'm called Raymond Tamale and you're called Naroga, is the name being put in the system as it is, or something like that? So even the process of going to rectify
is cost.
You understand? Because for you to rectify, you have to go through the line as other people who are going to register for the first time.
Sure.
So the dilly-dallying, it's quite...
All right, let me just bring a little bit of perspective of the politics at play here. There was a plan more than a year ago to phase out the fact that bodas were never or going to be allowed to enter certain sections of the city. And perhaps that feeling is still raw, that these are all plans aimed at ensuring that we are moved out of the city. And 180,000 face expulsion if they do not do what? Register. How effectively is this expulsion going to be effected? Is it something that we're actually going to see, or it's one of those political statements?
The plan you're talking about is the border free zone, whereby KCCA is supposed to come up with a plan for border riders with designated stages where they're supposed to operate from. In these stages, there are not supposed to be any stages next to the bank, next to hospitals and other places. Now, I can tell you for a fact, when I was doing the story a few days back about stages, there's a man who has a stage called Buganda Road City Square. He's a chairman. He tells you, I've been at this stage since 1988. Now, the leadership of that stage is very dramatic. Is that if you die, and I'm the chairperson, if you die, I take over as a chairperson of that stage.
Oh, so it's inherited by death.
But then, at the back of it, there's a fee that you're paying to be on that stage. I can tell you for a fact, all riders in Kampala who have stages that are designated own them, not by KCCA.
They're independent,
yes.
yeah.
They are paying between 800,000 to 1.5 to own that space. Now,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I had to ask a boda man one day. Like, first tell me, do you have a stage in Kampala? So he told me so. Then I asked him, how much are you paying? Then he told me they pay 900,000, but it's a one-off.
Yeah,
because I asked him, is it an annual payment? Like, no, it's a one-off for you to have a stage in a particular place.
For you to be allowed at the stage,
Yeah, for you to be allowed to
own the stage.
No, for you to be allowed to park in that designated place.
Now, to go back to the 180 who are going to be evicted.
Yeah, sure.
So, you're evicting 180 who have stages. Now, the people who registered earlier,
paid money.
yeah, the people who registered earlier might be those ones who are just going through Kampala. Understand? Let us give a scenario whereby if the 10K who have registered right now, 10,000 who have registered right now, and they are fully worthy of the road, 5,000 are non-motorized, 5,000 motorized. So what happens?
Wow.
So you understand?
What would you advise the authorities to do? Or to go about this whole thing?
It's not my job, but then I could say this.
You've covered the story.
Yeah.
You understand the dynamics. You should be able to advise.
The issue about border is one. The people who are manning this exercise have failed to go down to the common man to sensitize them about the need for them to be registered.
Yeah.
How? If you sensitize this person, for example, like in Machindia, the mayor tells you boldly and tells you, this exercise happened and I got an SMS. I saw it on social media. So how many people have smartphones? How many people know how to read and write? So if you get a van which is moving around the 5 divisions of Kampala, advising people, like you see how it was for vaccination. Just move around for a week or two.
That's right.
Tell these people the need for registration, have the officers of enforcement of KCCA go to the different divisions for a week just to sensitize the riders. And then maybe you can have the numbers coming in. But so long as you're doing these orders on TV and you're doing the stories, me, I'm doing the story about, extension,
yeah,
the numbers will never come in.
All right, Tamale, let's use this opportunity on border topic to also talk about something that has been happening for a very long time. What can I even call it? When bodas get to the police and their bikes are taken and they never see them again, and then when you pass by the police, you see a whole 1,000 of bikes parked. Others have now overgrown grass in them, and you're wondering,
tires.
What is the fate of this kind of arrangement? Where do we go? A person, I understand, if their bike is detained, they simply leave it. They go and buy a new one and begin work. Now that's a bit of a conundrum. How is that being addressed? Yeah.
One is required, even if you had your border confiscated for an accident or a crime or anything, you're given 6 months to claim that border.
Claim the bike.
Now the issue is that the 6 months that are given to the riders, most times, if I'm owning a border, and a police officer takes it and says, "Hey, I'm going to fine you for 70K," the person's like, "So 70K, I pay the 70K, then I get the border out, but then I have to give someone some money in between there, then I get it out." They
abandon the whole project.
The people who go further to get those borders out are people who have loans, because For example, like applications like taxi hailing apps like Uganda that give out bodas on loans.
Yeah,
They track your boda.
that's right.
Until you pay, then the tracker is out. So if you find yourself that your boda has been taken to the police station and then you follow up,
impounded.
you'll be arrested.
Yeah.
So police has come out over and over again to tell the boda riders, please, if you know that you have your boda at any station of ours, come and claim it. But then the issue is that even the boda riders don't want to come and claim it. They say
no, but between you and me, we know that even though they go to claim it, they're not going to pay only 70,000. They're going to be asked for an arm and a leg.
Yeah, those are Priscilla. Raymond, Tamale, many thanks for giving us the very much helpful insight and information on the workings and the dynamics around registration, census, whatever word you hear out there regarding bodas. At the end of the day, Kampala must become a smart city, and it's part of efforts to ensure that we actually embrace the kind of development, especially in public transport, that is needed for Uganda. We shall be having a lot more, of course, on this story in our subsequent bulletins later. But of course, for now, it's time for a short break. We are going into some very, very interesting discussions.